The Life Talk Show is about testimonies where you can listen to be inspired, encouraged, uplifted, and entertained. It's the life. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm so excited regarding this show. I feel like I have not been here for a while, even though I wasn't here last Saturday, because as you all know, we had our going back to school event and it was such a success. A lot of single parents came out and everything was gone. We held it from 10 a.m. and the cutoff time was going to be 1 p.m. If nothing, if anything was left over, we were going to cut it off at 1, but we got done like around 12. And so it was such a success for it to be the first event for the Life 14:6. And if you don't know, that is my nonprofit. It comes from John 14:6. I am the way, I'm the truth, and I'm the life. And so we wanted to be, a pillar in the community to help single fathers and single mothers with the necessities for their children, just to lift the burdens off their shoulder and to pretty much give, a hand up and not just, a handout. And so there's going to be more to come as far as future events. And speaking of future events, I got to do my church announcements. And so rebuilding the temple of God, it is August the 14th, which is a Saturday. It will start at 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. And so it's calling his daughters back to him, aligning the heart and mind for God's will and purpose. I have some dynamic, phenomenal women speakers that are going to come out and just bless us, including myself. I'll be hosting as well as speaking and just really going before the Lord and just really worshiping him and pressing in. So you do not want to miss that. This is a time for us to get into alignment according to, what God has for us and the things that he wants us to do. And so with that said, I'm going to introduce my guest, Fred Kienle. Did I pronounce that correctly, Mr. Fred?
It's pronounced Kienle, but I always tell everybody you could call me anything but late for dinner.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read his bio so you all can get to know him. One of the things that I like to do is read people's bios because usually it highlights all the accolades and their success and the things that God has done in their lives. And then we usually, go all the way back to where it started from so we can just go on the journey of who you are and how you've evolved and grown with your relationship with Jesus Christ. So Fred Kienle has come up through the ranks, learning how to understand and deal with people and personalities through trial and error. He attended Texas Western College in El Paso, Texas. He was a musician, recording artist for 25 years, playing in a myriad of diverse clubs and concerts. He was a licensed electrician and has owned several small businesses. For over 22 years, he worked for a major corporation in Dallas, Texas. He taught and trained hundreds of employees in Six Sigma, ethics, and safety. He has been certified as a Six Sigma expert and specializes in team building and team facilitation. Fred has been self-employed since 2006 as a published author with 2 books, Health with an Attitude and Success with an Attitude. Speaker, consultant, and singer entertainer. He was given the title of the Attitude Guru by Tom Ziglar, the proud son of Zig Ziglar and CEO of Ziglar Incorporated, and conducts a series of attitude seminars for corporations, businesses, and schools, churches, cities, and hundreds of assisted living memory case establishments in the Dallas area, Fort Worth Metroplex. He resides in Texas with his wife of 51 years, and he has their 2 dogs. So thank you for coming on, Mr. Fred. I greatly appreciate it. So take us to the very beginning, to the essence of you.
Good grief. Golly, that's, I've been on a journey. I'm 76 years old, and I've just been on a journey of the ups and downs, and life is never just smooth. It's
Yeah.
always, it just goes in waves, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 9 years old, I used to go with my grandparents to a little four-square gospel church in El Paso, and that was the first time I went forward to confess and receive Jesus Christ as my Savior. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
crying like a baby, and it was a wonderful feeling. Well, throughout the years, you kind of move away from that and you get busy with life and stuff. Became a musician, electrician, and just doing a lot of stuff. The good, the bad, and the ugly, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
Being a musician, I saw a lot of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And throughout my tour, we ended up in Chicago for 2 years. And we
Mm-hmm.
did some recording up there. And when we came back to El Paso, we played in a club. It was a very prominent club there for about, oh gosh, we were there for 13 years as the club band, the house band. And towards the end of that, I started watching the people, and I get out and talk to them. They're all having a great time and all full of drinking and dancing and stuff. But when I'd sit down with them, I would listen to, "Hi, how you doing?" And when we would get beyond, "Oh yeah, just fine," you start listening to them. So many of them were there just hiding, brokenhearted, having problems, financial, marital, health issues. All. And I started watching this, and I started also, God touched me on my shoulder and said, "Listen to what you're singing to them." And I thought, God, what do you mean? And I started, it says, "Help me make it through the night" song. Great song. But in that one verse, it says, "Let the devil take tomorrow. Just help me make it through the night." And I'm singing words like this to people that subconsciously were
Mm-hmm.
listening to what I was singing and saying. So I said, maybe I need to look at what I'm doing a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So once I did that, I kind of got away from the music part there for a while, and started doing my own business. I ran some small construction businesses on my own, and did a lot of stuff there. And in 1984, my wife and I moved here to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We live in Garland.
Mm-hmm.
And well, let me back up a minute, because there's one important part. One time when I was doing my small businesses, things were going good, bad, and stuff. And I was watching the 700 Club. And Ben Kinchlow, remember him? Big teddy bear, black guy on the 700 Club. Great guy. And I just realized I had gotten way off track. So I fell down on my knees and I prayed to God, and I said, "Take me back."
Mm-hmm.
And from then on, things started moving. And so in 1984, we got an opportunity to move here, and I went to work for Texas Instruments in the Dallas area. And it was a good ride, because it really, I got to they opened up doors that I'd never had open before. And I got to advance and move and grow and stuff like that. And, was able to teach classes, become a supervisor, Six Sigma expert, and do all of these things. And towards the end, in 2006, I retired.
Mm-hmm.
They said I was retired. And during that, about 4 years before that, I started thinking about what I wanted to do. And because I'd been teaching and training and doing this stuff, I started thinking about, what else could I do? And so here's another interesting thing where God touches you on the shoulder. It's a magic moment. I was going through a drive-through at a fast food restaurant, and you drive up to the box, and you're talking to the box, and you say, "Yeah, I want this and this and this," and they say the kid on the other side says, "You can't understand." I thought,
Right.
did he hear what I really wanted? So I drove up to the window, got the package and stuff, and I drove off, and it's parked, and I was checking. Everything was wrong. And I said a few expletives, and said, "That comes stupid kid." No. God says, "Hey, they're good kids. They just haven't been taught what people skills they need to learn. And why don't you do something about it?" I said, me? What am I going to do? And he says, well, look at what you've been doing. You've been training, teaching, you've been writing materials. You've always wanted to be a writer. You've always done things. You've written songs. You've done this. You're good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Show them. So what evolved out of that was a writing I started doing and a seminar called Success with an Attitude. And all it is 10 simple people skills about how to smile, how to listen to people, how to pay attention, how to have some manners. And I would start doing this. I started doing this seminar for a lot of high school kids. And they'd start out there and they'd say, oh, what this old geezer going to show me now, you know what? And I started talking about how much having these people skills can mean in their pocketbook.
Yeah.
They'd start sitting up and paying attention a little bit, say, oh, money, huh? What do I have to do? I said, well, you can look like whatever you want to go look like at a football game, at a dance party, at your friend's house. But when you go in for a job interview, you better look your best. And you don't have a second chance to make a first impression.
Right.
So anyway, that evolved into a lot of things. And it also, after doing that seminar several times, not only at high school, but I did it at colleges. And at the time, a lot of people were getting laid off from corporations. And a lot of them were PhDs and engineers and stuff, that very smart people. But they were having a problem finding jobs. So I worked it out with a couple of work compensation places to give this class about success with an attitude. And teaching some of these people that were brilliant at what they did, but their people skills were really lacking. I know I've seen some PhDs that don't know how to drive, tie their shoes. Their people skills were they just didn't have any. Mm-hmm. And so they learned that was an important part, because it wasn't just their skills, it was their attitude. Mm-hmm. And let me add another, all through all of this, I'd always managed to throw Christ in there. And having faith in yourself that God gave us talents to use. And we need all of them. And he granted us all this privilege to do these wonderful things. And I've been blessed, so blessed, so blessed. And after I retired in 2006, I really did a lot of stuff on safety. I did a lot in Prestonwood Baptist Church, the huge church up in Plano there. For 2 years, I was their safety consultant. And I gave a lot of safety training up there. And of course, it was easy to bring in Christ there. Mm-hmm. I remember Zig Ziglar. I was lucky to know him. He was telling us one time, he said, he was doing all these things and stuff as a salesman. And people would tell him, Zig, you don't need to bring all this religion stuff into your sales pitches and stuff like that. He said, you need to cut that out. And Zig looked at him and he says, that's the worst advice I ever got. And he never quit using Christ. So anyway, it's just, I've had that same feeling. I say, well, people don't really want to hear some of that stuff. Well, they need to hear it. Mm-hmm. So I always include it in whatever I do. I've been everybody's a salesman. I've been a salesman everywhere. I was in Amway for a while. I am a licensed life health insurance agent, and I've done everything. So
that is awesome, Mr. Fred. And so what I wanted to say back to, people skills and being personable, that, that's lacking, especially with, what's going on with COVID and people working from home, that when you are calling customer service, or you're calling any kind of service for that matter, that just because you're at home does not mean that you need to sound like you lounging on the couch and eating some potato chips. Because I had, recently, had to make a call. A couple of people, I was talking to one of my girlfriends, and she had to call, I think, a Secretary of State or something regarding, some things that she had going on. And one of the things that happened is that I guess he thought that because the sound of her voice, you could pretty much pick up on people's dialect, whether they're white, black, whatever, proper, whatever. But I guess because she is a woman of color, he assumed that she was calling for unemployment. But what he failed to realize is that she's a businesswoman, very accomplished, and she was actually calling to speak to the procurement or the purchasing department regarding contracts. And when he heard that, his whole attitude, demeanor, everything changed. Like, oh, okay. And so she was offended by that, because regardless, however I sound, don't assume that I'm calling for something when I'm not.
Exactly.
And treat me how you would treat the person that is calling regarding business contracts and procurement and everything of that nature, and someone that's calling regarding unemployment. So even with that said, the whole class, putting people in different classes and attitudes and everything, you should really get back to teaching people how to do customer service, because it's really lacking, and not just over the phone, but even in person. Like, people are just so lax when it comes to business and being professional, regardless of what position, title, or anything that you hold.
That's so true. In my Success with an Attitude, I always talk, especially to these kids in these first jobs, like, working at McDonald's, fast food, any of these things, as a clerk in the auto store, whatever. Your attitude, to me, like I said, attitude guru. When Tom told me, he said, "You're the attitude guru," I really appreciated that, because everything to me starts with your attitude, and that includes your attitude about your faith, attitude about life, attitude about your marriage, attitude about finances. I don't care what it is. Your attitude is so important. When I tell these people, I say, you know what? When people come in to your fast food restaurant and they're standing there, everybody has an inherent desire to be respected. There's just this need. There's a need inside of us to be noticed and respected. You don't have to throw accolades on me. You just need to notice me.
Right.
And when you have, like, I even tell these kids, I say, you know what? You get 4 or 5 people and they all standing there and they're thinking, who is next? I teach them. I say, look, just acknowledge when they walk in. Just look at them and say, I'll be with you in a minute. You're next. And then all of a sudden you become an example to the people standing there waiting in line. Say, this is a good person.
And you know what, Mr. Fred? Like, Chick-fil-A is the best to me. I love Chick-fil-A. And they may not have the best chicken or the best macaroni cheese or whatever your preference is, but their customer service is hands down the best. I mean, it's my pleasure. How may I help you? How may I serve you today? I mean, it's just like, wow. They make you feel really great.
2 places high on my shopping list is Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby is Christian-based, and they just do a lot of stuff. And they train their people. And, there's always somebody in there that doesn't quite fit the bill, but 99% of them are always helpful. Hi, how you doing? Are you looking for something? You'll be walking through. Can I help you with anything?
Customer service goes a long way, Mr. Fred. Yeah. And so you've mentioned in your relationship with Jesus that there's been ups and downs, and so if you can elaborate on those down moments where you really had to seek the Father and really have to depend on him, and even some of your high moments where God came through for you and how he blessed you to be where you are. Because I think during these times, people are discouraged. And one of the things is that I want to encourage people just to hold on. Don't walk away from your faith. Because I think that when God doesn't come through for us the way that we want him to come through, or the way that we're expecting him to come through, you can get discouraged. And you can say, you know what, this whole Christian thing don't work. God is not here. He doesn't listen to me. He doesn't care. And so what would you say regarding those moments that perhaps may have come in your life that you can look back on and say, you know what, I saw God's hand right here, and this is what I was going through, but he brought me out here, and now it makes sense?
Yeah, well, gosh, there's several of those moments, I guess. Some of the low ones are like when I really stepped away from the music business. I was brokenhearted because I love music. And in fact, I've been reprising it at a lot of these assisted living homes now, doing a singles act, and I'm loving it. I'm loving singing again to these guys and these gals that are in their 80s and stuff. I just love it, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But yeah. I was really disappointed. I thought, music is my life. I love music. I love playing. I love entertaining. I love telling stories. I'm a jokester in all my seminars. Every one of them, I interrupt about every 7-10 minutes with a joke. I love telling stories. I'll tell you one in a little bit. I
Okay.
love making people laugh. And so that just, I was in a position where I didn't have that platform anymore. Broke my heart. And I thought, thanks God, what am I going to do now? I like doing this and that, but man, music was gone from my life. And not. Just keep the music in your heart. Keep the music in your heart. Not all of the songs are bad. And so just my belief and faith, I never gave up on God. And thank God he never gave up on me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then another time when we moved here, I thought, okay, started working at TI and stuff like that. And things were going really, really good. And then, and I guess it was like that. Trying to think of the date. Anyway, it was about 30 years ago. All of a sudden, I'm walking along, and I love telling this story because it really helps me in my health with an attitude seminars and my book. That I'm walking along, and all of a sudden I got a pain in my ankle that really hurt. And I was walking, I said, darn, that hurts. What is that? So I thought, well, I took 2 aspirin, and the pain went away. About 4 hours later, the pain came back. 2 more aspirin, pain went away. I did that for about a month. And all of a sudden, I started getting a pain in my side. Really, I said, well, 2 aspirin is not going to help there. So I thought, God, what do I do now? I said, well, you need to go to the doctor. So, I prayed over it and everything. So I went to my physician, and he said, now let's run some tests. So I found out that I had a duodenal ulcer. And he said, that aspirin you've been taking? I said, yes, sir. He said, quit taking it. That it was uncoated and it was eating a hole in my stomach. Okay, I can do that. He says, and the good news is we can fix it with a prescription without, having surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's great. Well, I quit taking the aspirin, and about 2 days later, something happened to my body that I did not like. I woke up, every bone in my body hurt so bad. I couldn't move my finger. It hurt. I blinked my eyes. I never felt that much pain all over my body that I didn't know what I was going to do. I said, God, what's going on? So I prayed about it. I said, let's find out what's going on here. So I went back to the doctor, and he ran a few more tests. And I found that I had a very serious case of debilitating rheumatoid arthritis. This was 30 years ago. And I said, whoa, what does debilitating mean? And the doctor said, well, debilitating means it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. In a couple of years, you're going to probably have to have some surgery, some hip replacements, and, joint deformities and all this. I'm thinking, that's an ugly picture. And I looked at him, and because God's blessed me for so long about having a good attitude. And I said, well, I looked that doctor in the eye, and I said, no, it's not. No, it's not. God will see me through this. And I started praying, and I said, I will beat this thing. Well, I still have rheumatoid arthritis, and it flares up on me once in a while, and it doesn't feel good. But this is 30 some odd years later. I have no hip replacements. I have all my mobility. I had a little deformity in this left hand. And I tell these people at these especially at the assisted living homes, they're depressed about their problems and their health issues. I say, you got to have faith. You got to have that faith. Faith is the substance of things. You have to have that faith.
Mm-hmm.
And from that moment on, when I get a flare up, I tell people it didn't say they always didn't have tribulations. I said, but I have to fight it. Fight the good fight with faith. And I get a flare up in my hand or my shoulder or my leg or wherever it flares up. They're getting less and less. I don't have them hardly anymore. But when they do, I just say this, this is gone. And I love, Mark 11:23, cast this mountain, this mountain into the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it. And you have to have that belief in your heart. And that's one of my favorite Bible verses. Say, hey, gosh, believe it. And you have to speak it too. Speaking it is so pretty. So if I say unto you, remove this mountain into the sea, and believe that you say it. In that one verse, God says, say it 3 times. One verse, he says, say it 3 times. We need to speak those affirmations. And God's given us millions of them in the Bible to use.
Mm-hmm.
Loud and soft. They don't be quiet. Speak it out loud. I tell people, you got to say it. You got to speak to the fig tree. all of these, say self-affirmation to me is the key. I tell these people, I say, you know what your issues are, write a list, put it on the mirror up there. Today I'm going to smile at everybody I can, even the ones I don't like. You have to have this positive attitude. And from that, all those kind of things, that was a really down part of my life. I was in pain for a long time. We went through a whole barrage, and God saw me through. Got on some medication that really works. Great doctor. And the doctor I had, God bless him, he would pray with me.
Oh, that's nice.
Along with treating me. And that his name was Dr. Carl Couch. And he's a fabulous man. He's retired now. Darn it. But he's a fabulous Christian man, and pretty nice when you have a doctor that will pray for you and with you. So I was one of those times it just really brought me up. And then since then, I've had like some great moments, bad moments. This COVID thing hit, and now I thought, because I was doing all of these seminars live, especially at these assisted living homes and corporations and churches and all these organizations, and that put a stop to that. So I looked around and said, okay, now what can I do? So my wife and I are both retired, and we're on Social Security. So we're on a fixed income in one sense. And so the money that I'm making, which is not a whole lot, but it's enough to just help.
Yeah.
And so that was gone. It's like, okay, what do I do now? So I'm watching I do a lot on LinkedIn, and I'm looking at these people, and they're talking about Zoom. I said, what's that? Ta-da. Got that? Your answer. So since the last year, I've been doing a lot of these seminars and stuff online on Zoom. I've been doing them now. I've been doing them all over Texas. So not just here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Midlothian, everywhere.
And Mr. Fred, can I ask, if you don't mind, how old are you?
76.
So you're 76, and you had to pivot within your own business in order to bring the additional income in, to support you and your wife. And what do you say to those that, you minister to that are your age or probably older, to say, listen, life doesn't end. Like, people think because, you become elderly and feeble and you can't keep up with the times of technology, or it's overwhelming. But here you were at a point where you had to pivot to technology, to Zoom, going versus live, which all of us had to do with, being live and being in front of people, to being shut in. And now it's like, how do I continue to let my business grow? What is the next move, the next step for me? And now you are on Zoom. So how was that, with your age? And, what do you tell other people? Because sometimes God can do whatever he wants to do. I mean, Abraham had a baby in his late age. A lot of things happen later because God says your latter will be greater. And so, how do you overcome, and tell people how to overcome those challenges?
Oh, I got a great solution. I've always believed laughter is the best medicine. And in fact, God says, a cheerful heart, it's a good heart. What I do in most every one of my seminars, and I do a lot of PowerPoint presentations. I love doing those. I love that. And so what I'll show is that laughter is the best medicine. I'll say, how many people remember this? And zooms up is a picture of Bob Hope. And they all say, oh, yeah, I remember you. And these are even younger generation, not so much of the xenophiles here, but and then I say, he lived to 100 years old, making people laugh, and in turn making himself laugh. And then I show Bob, George Burns, and I show Milton Berle. And for these people, they all recognize those. And then I bring up a picture of Dick Van Dyke. And I said, he's not dead yet. He's 93 years old. And he's still dancing. He's still doing things. He's still doing some Broadway. He's still doing some singing. He's still doing some commercials. I said, look at all of you guys. You're not done yet. Some of you always wanted to write a book. Write it. Some of you always wanted to write a song. Write it. Some of you always wanted to do, paint a picture. Paint it. You're not done yet. Don't give up. Learn new stuff. A lot of you don't know how to use a computer. Get on the computer and learn how to Google. There's a wealth of stuff you can do out there and learn. I said, don't give up. Don't give up on you. Don't give up on your health. Because when you do that, you give up on your family, your kids, your grandkids, and all the friends around you. Don't give up. Life is full. Till God calls us home, we got a lot to do. Don't stop. And I don't care what age group they are. That's what I tell them.
Mm-hmm. And since you're retired, you picked up on something else with doing your business. So even like when people say, "Oh, I can't wait till I retire," when you do retire, what else is there? What else should you be doing? Like, is it going to do your hobby, something that you enjoy, or maybe picking up your passion that's been laying dormant on the inside of you?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Because everybody has a passion. They've just given up on their dream. They figure, wait, I'm past the age. I can't do it anymore. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. Some things, we can't do. I'm not going to run out on the basketball court or the tennis court and play tennis. But I could go out and just knock it around a little bit. You don't
Yeah.
have to stop. You might not be able to run a marathon, but you can get out and walk up and down the sidewalk. And if you can't, work on it. And I even tell people, even those of you that are using a walker, a cane, or in a wheelchair, they're still, you don't give up. Do these things. There's a passion inside every one of us. All you have to do is find it. And sometimes you have to look for it. But if you pray incessantly about, God, what do you want me to do? He'll help us find our voice. He'll find it. If you search for it, if you knock and you ask, he said, here it is. Think, use this. I gave it to you. He did all this stuff for us a long time ago. I love the one about 1 Peter 2:24. And I tell my folks, I call them my treasured seniors. I'm 76, but they're my treasured seniors. I tell them 1 Peter 2:24. It says, he himself bare our sins on the cross, that we being, forgiven of, we're righteous. And because of that, we're healed. 2,000 years ago, Jesus took all of that. And by his stripes, we're already healed. All we have to do is claim it. I do a seminar called Faith with an Attitude. And I love doing that one. That's my pride. And in it, I always tell people, your faith is so, so important. You can't get through life without having that faith and belief, And every day we're hit with unbelief. We're getting with so much garbage every day. And I tell people, don't watch the news. Stay informed. This is Texas weather, so you got to watch the weather. But all the other stuff is just garbage. It's just, they find the worst story to tell you. So I said, you need your faith to get through all that mess. And just in your attitude towards your faith is so important. When you're in the dumps, like you said, and all of us get there. We can wake up some morning, you don't feel good. This didn't go on right. Yeah. Car broke down, flat tire. And I tell the women, I say, you had a bad hair day? Well, get through it, do it. But we have to overcome it. And the first thing you need to do when you get up is have a joyful heart and tell yourself, this is going to be a great day. I might not feel good right now, but when you change your attitude, God has already put in our bodies, hormones start working for you. All of these things go into play. Your chemistry changes. It says by fact, when you're in a bad mood or things are going wrong and you're angry, it can hurt your immune system really bad. And yet when you're laughing, it can improve and help your immune system for up to 24 hours. So that's why he tells us this in the Bible. They're all good. The Bible's full of so much common sense, it's sickening. And the only problem in today is we don't have no sense. We threw all our pennies away. We don't have any sense at all, Holly. Common sense has been out the window. So it's not very common anymore. And so and the Bible is full of common sense. Just good rules to live by.
Yeah. So, and Fred, why did you have to walk away from the music? Was it the type of music that you were singing? Because I was thinking, since that is your gift, music, and you love to do it, why not transition to like gospel or something?
Yeah, well, I wasn't really sure about that. Yeah, it's a great question. Fantastic question. And what I was doing is that, I thought, okay, it was mostly not just some of the music we were doing, because a lot of it was good-hearted and uplifting and, it was fun, everything like that. But it was the arena that I was performing in. Yeah, a lot of drinking, a lot of smoking, a lot of drugs, a lot of stuff. Luckily, God prevented me from going down the drug path. whether it was fear or whatever, but drank a few things. But my favorite was scotch. But I never to a real excess. So I was just blessed. My father was an alcoholic, and I knew it took him. And my parents got divorced when I was 11, and so I was raised with my mother and stuff. And my blessing there was my dad or my mom never put each other down. So that was a nice thing. So it was always a good friendship there. But it was the arena I was playing in. The people are around. Surround yourself with good people. And I know you need to sit with sinners and stuff, but the arena that I was using, I didn't know how to approach them yet. If I knew then what I knew now, I love to say an acronym I use called I Quicken. And it says, if I knew what I knew now, I would go back and I would use that same platform in those clubs to sneak Jesus Christ in there a whole lot of times, and they wouldn't even know it. It'd be almost subliminal to say. And I'd talk to them on the break. I'd pray for them on the break. I didn't do that back then. I didn't know how. So that was a long time ago. Now I do. I do it in a heartbeat. Now I don't care where I'm at. Somebody says, "Oh yeah, well, can I pray with you? You have a problem? Can I help you?" So yeah, that's pivotal. And so it was the arena that when I stepped away, though, it allowed me to redo. And so now, before COVID hit, I had just started reprising a thing. I did a singles act, and I do 3 shows that I'm doing right now that I want to get back doing. One is called A Tribute to Elvis, and I do a bunch of Elvis. I'm not a great singer, and I'm not an Elvis impersonator, but I got a pretty decent voice.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it, Fred.
No, I'm not going to sing right now. And then I do another one, A Tribute to Buddy Holly. And if you remember Buddy Holly a little bit, maybe. And then I do a little Vegas act with a lot of Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, and those kind of things. I love doing that. And I'm working on a new one I'm putting together, A Date with Diamond. And we did a lot of Neil Diamond songs. And I love a lot. And Neil Diamond, he's pretty middle of the road. It's uplifting music. It's not a lot of crying your beer or hurtful song, it doesn't talk about Satan or anything like that. It talks about good stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's and I love music. So God has guided me and allowed me to get back into that. And it is such a joy to look out there when I'm singing, especially a lot of people with dementia and memory problems. I start singing these songs. You can see them. They pay attention, their eyes light up, and they start singing the words with you. The recall is coming up.
Yeah.
What almost makes you cry. And you see the joy. And then they start tapping their feet. People that don't move a lot, they start moving. They take their wheelchair and they start moving around like that. And I've been gone over and gotten some people, come on, dance with me. And they'll get up in a little bit, they'll call. And that's a blessing. I'm shining there. I'm just having a good time doing that.
Wow,
I can't wait.
So
can't wait till I can get back doing it.
Yeah, that's so sweet. One of my songs by Frank Sinatra, and it was actually composed by Quincy Jones, is The Shadow of Your Smile.
Shadow of Your Smile.
I love that song. It's so romantic, like cheek to cheek, dancing. So sweet. See
Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, dancing. Yeah, that's a beautiful song too.
Yes. So, Mr. Fred, where are you right now? Like anything that the Lord is placing on your heart to tell us, like, imparting wisdom. I once heard someone say his name is Kevin Zozark or something. It starts with a Z, but he's always on YouTube doing different teachings and everything. And he says that when you are in the presence of someone with gray hair, that's the time for you to listen and not talk as much. So any wisdom or anything that you want to impart to us and tell us?
Yeah, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. And we're supposed to listen twice as much as we speak. And the wise man is a quiet man, and he listens more than he speaks. And the wisdom I have on that just is that there's one of my success with an attitude is learn how to listen. Because it's something I have to work on every day. I want to jump in and say something. I have to zip it up sometimes because I'm already trying to formulate an answer while they're talking or what I'm going to say next. So it's not it's not an easy skill sometimes. So I tell not only the young people, but everybody I talk to on this, it's like listening is something, it's important. And
Mm-hmm.
when you do, just like you're doing right there, you're acknowledging what I'm saying. You're agreeing with me, and you're looking me in the eyes. You're watching me. You're seeing me. It's just like, golly, that shows respect. Listening is a respectful thing to do. And so the more you can listen, not only will the respect you will get from that person, but it's not only it's something you give out, you give them respect and you tell them you really understand or trying to understand what they're saying. And if you don't, then you ask them the question. And when you do that, they know you're listening. And so
Mm-hmm.
you've done all those skills. You always watch, you're very attentive. Yes, yeah, yeah, I agree. I understand. Or no, would you repeat that, please? Those are good listening skills. And I
Thank
appreciate the way
you.
you handle this. That makes you a good host.
Thank you. I hope so. I really, because I actively listen to not only my guests, but also to the Holy Spirit. And I want to be aware, I want to be alert as far as the dynamics of what's going on here, because it's so sure I can make up questions. Sure, I can write them down and make some pre-made up questions, but
Exactly.
that's not what this show is. And that's not what I want to do, because it's not organic. If I
Right.
send you some questions and you answer them or you're looking them over, because it's like you're going to try to give your very best. And you should put your best foot forward. But
Absolutely.
I want it to be sincere and I want it to be genuine in the moment, that what you see is what you get, because it shows the human side of us. Those who are just, common folk who have a relationship with Jesus. That's the highlight. That's what it's about. Different walks of life, different backgrounds, different ethnicity groups, to show the diversity in the kingdom. And this is not about a religion. This is not about the right thing or the wrong thing. This is simply our walk with God. And like you mentioned, Mr. Fred, that there's trials and tribulations, there's ups and there's downs, for people to understand and get an up close personal look at what this walk is.
Exactly.
That is not for the faint at heart. And you do have to wake up each and every day, right? Renewing your mind each and every day, being transformed each and every day by his word, and making a decision to say, I choose your will today, Father God, calling those things as though they were, with evidence not seen, and saying, I'm going to walk by the spirit and not my flesh, because if I walk by my flesh, I'm gonna get myself in trouble and it's not gonna work out for you. So
Exactly. That's perfect. See what I mean? Isn't that great? Your whole rhetoric there was just perfect. It fits into everything that we should be doing every day. Every day we got to get up and say, you know what? It's just going to be a great day. I don't care what we do. If as long as I believe in you, as long as I have you by my side, I'll get through whatever it is. Just everyday occurrences can wear you out sometimes. Just everyday stuff.
Everyday stuff can wear you out. And the enemy is really ramping up what he got going on. And I feel like there's so much death. Like every time I turn around, somebody that I know, loved one, has passed away. And it's like, when is this whole thing going to just cease and let the good times roll, right?
Right.
Like it's so much death and so much devastation. It's just so hard that you just, you don't want to be desensitized to it, like numb to it. Right. But at the same time, it's just like, I got to just put my blinders on and just focus on what I need to, so I don't get myself down and depressed as well in the process of it all. And not to be, you want to be empathetic. You do want to be compassionate, not so much empathetic, sympathetic, but compassionate, right? For the next person, for your neighbor, but not to, and God told me this too, and this is wisdom. He said, it's okay to listen to people's problems or their issues, but don't make yourself a part of their problem, their issue. You stay on the outside of it, but you give an ear or a shoulder, but you don't put yourself within it.
Right. Yeah. Don't wear their stuff on your body.
Right. Exactly.
Don't let it invade your mind. Let your heart deal with what they're saying, but don't let it invade your faith or your soul. And because they will,
Absolutely.
I'll tell people, have you ever walked up to somebody and asked them, "Hi, how you feeling today?" and wish you'd never asked? They'll unload on you, every disease and sickness they had, Uncle Harry's bursitis and whatever, and what their dog is doing, And if you spend 5 minutes with them, you think, so you gotta temper it with love, compassion.
Yes.
But don't let it invade your soul.
That's right.
So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So I'm about to hit you with the hot track, Mr. Fred. You ready for the fire rapid questions?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So the first one is, what is your favorite verse in the Bible?
Oh gosh. That's one of my favorite is Mark 11:23 through all the way through 26.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that is, for verily I say unto you that whatsoever, whatsoever shall you say to this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast into the sea, and shall believe in your heart that whatsoever you saith shall come to pass. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
To me, that is always spoken. I get a pain or something. I say, hey, you're gone. Finances, you're gone. We're going to get through this. Money's going to show up. We're going to find something. I'm going to make I take a lot of cold calls all day long. It says, somebody's going to hire me, and that's that faith. And that's all. Those things, if you believe in it, and you have to believe in it. Yes. You can't do it with a doubt. And on verse 25, it says, and when you stand praying, forgive. If you have aught against any, forgive, so that your Father in heaven can forgive you. And I tell people that are having issues with their health and stuff like that, I say, you know what? I know sometimes it's hard. Forgiveness is like taking poison. You can be hateful, you can be mad at anybody you want to, but if you don't forgive them in your heart, it's not going to affect them one way or the other, I think. It's going to affect you. God always tells me, he says, if you have something going on, forgive them. If you can, go up and tell them you forgive them. If you can't, forgive them. Otherwise, it's going to fester, and some of the illnesses that a lot of people have are due to an unforgiving heart.
Number 2, how do you get into the presence of the Lord?
I think I'm going to go to, I don't know if you're familiar with Andrew Warmack. He's a TV evangelist.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. He always says, it says, somebody asks him, says, how many hours a day do you pray? He thought, and then he says, you know what? I think I pray all day long. All day long. Because I always feel that God's with me. I don't care wherever I go. I'm driving down the road. Did you see that, God? Did you see? Look at that tree. And so prayer to me is in the presence of God. I just feel I'm always in his presence. That's why I try not to do nothing bad. I say, he saw me do that, But the presence of God, it shouldn't be like, okay, I got to get prepared. Worship music is great because it opens up some parts of your soul and your spirit that sometimes are, daily things kind of keep it pushed to the side. Worship music is great. I love worship music. I love it. In fact, it'll bring me to tears faster than anything because my emotions just got buried on my whole body. But during the day, it's always just a daily thing. God, gosh, I got to fix this. There's something wrong. I got to fix a faucet. I got to tear apart. I got to do this because my wife has a honey-do list. It's probably 7 miles.
Honey-do list.
So, but I said, God, can you help me do this? Little things. This morning I prayed, God, I hope I have a great time with Ashley. I hope the interview goes really good and we can share with each other a passion for not only God, but for what we do. So that I'm with God all day long. That's it.
Number 3, what do you think heaven will be like?
Oh gosh, I remember when my mother passed away, and I got up to talk in her behalf. And my mother used to make an enchilada dinner that was just out of sight. Fantastic Mex-Tex, border Spanish flat tortillas with an egg on top, cheese, and very good. And I said, you know what? My mom right now, all I can do is seeing her up there at the table with all the disciples up there, all the folks in the Bible and stuff like that, giving them the best enchilada dinner they ever ate. To me, that's heaven. Just being with your family again, your loved ones, being in the presence of God and Jesus Christ. Abraham, Isaac, all of these, they're there. It's not just streets of gold, but it's no pain, no physical, no financial worries, no daily stuff, no politics, and just a glorious place to be to spend your eternity.
Mm-hmm. Number 4, who would you like to meet in heaven? It can be from the Old Testament or New Testament.
Can I do both?
Sure.
Okay, in the Old Testament, I'd like to meet Solomon and ask him what about your wisdom. Where did you get your wisdom? I was told one time, he said, well, I got wisdom from making good decisions. And I said, how do you make good decisions? He said, from making bad decisions. So, but Solomon was so full of wisdom. He did think uncanny things that was really brilliant. So I'd love to meet him.
Mm-hmm.
The New Testament, I'd like to sit down with Paul,
Mm-hmm.
who was Saul. And that's the one thing that every one of us were Saul at one time.
Yes.
Every one of us was Saul at one time. I'd like to say, what did you feel when you were Saul? The hatred, the meanness, the ugliness. And then how glorified do you feel now that you believe in Jesus Christ and God?
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to ask him that. That's why I'd like to meet them.
Number 5, given the opportunity where you're in a quiet, intimate setting and God manifests himself to you face to face, what would you say to him? What would be that conversation?
Thank you. Thank you, God. You've given us a way to just get through life completely. Because he said all the way through, life is going to have tribulations. And we've all had them. We've had them. We have them. We will have them. Until we go to meet the Lord, they're there. And one of my favorite verses is in Psalm 23. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Okay. And what I love about that verse and what I would love to be with him about is that he's always made a way. He's always there. My rod and my staff will come. I'll get you through it. And there's a picture I put up in my Faith with an Attitude seminar on PowerPoint. And it says, trials and tribulations are going to be there. And I said, but yea, though I walk through the shadow of the, I have a picture that all of a sudden the tent shows up with a bonfire, campfire next to it. It says walk through it. Don't set up camp. Don't stay there. Don't live in it. A lot of people have a problem and they stay in it. They wallow in it. They use it. They don't walk through it. And God gives us that opportunity. So that's what I thank him more than ever. Thank you, Father, for giving us the Bible, for giving us Jesus Christ, to give us, we'd never make it without him. We'd all end up in hell.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I thank him for, giving us the way through all of this mess.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to enjoy life. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to continue?
I'm done. Yeah, that's why I would love to. That's what I do if I could ask him to talk to him. I'll just give him thanks for letting us get through this, for getting us through this.
And my bonus question, which is the last question, you're 76 years old. And so throughout your entire life, is it worth having a relationship with Jesus with all the things that you endured and went through? And then now, not even knowing what the future lies ahead, just knowing that God is there. He's the author and the finisher of your faith. But has it been worth having a relationship with him? And will you continue to have a relationship with him no matter what?
Gosh, what a question. Because it's filled with all of the hope, the glory, and the love that God provides us. How would you not? How could you, or would you not, knowing what you know all through your life at 76 years old, not continue to have the joy of God or Jesus Christ in your life? How could you? It would be impossible. You just can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine it. And I'll never stop.
Mm-hmm.
And life's thrown some pretty ugly things at me. So I would never stop. Does that answer your question?
Awesome. Yes, it does. That's awesome. So do you want to tell us a joke? before we go?
I tell you, and I love telling, I do a lot of ancestry stuff, and I found out with our DNA that I'm 9% Irish and Scottish. So I'm allowed to speak with a leprechaun accent. So there was this lady, and when she passed away, she went up to heaven. And when she got to heaven, St. Peter was there at the pearly gates, and she says, "Hi, I'm here to get into heaven. What do I need to do?" He says, "Well, all you have to do is spell a word." She says, "Spell a word? What word would that be?" He says, "Any word you want." She said, "How about faith?" He said, "That would be fine. Spell it." She said, Faith. She says, "That's great. You can walk into heaven." So she started to walk in, and St. Peter says, "Could you do me a favor? I got to take a break." He says, "Would you watch the gate for me? And if anybody comes up, just do what I asked you to do and ask them to spell a word and they can get in." She says, "Sure, I'd be happy to." So St. Peter went away, and she's standing there. And this lady comes up and she says, "Hi, I'm here to get into heaven. What do I need to do?" She says, "Well, all you have to do is spell a word." She says, "What word?" She said, "Any word you want." She said, "How about love?" She said, "That'd be fine." She said, Love. So that's great. So she went into heaven. And she's standing there again, and lo and behold, who shows up but her ex-husband?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. And she says, "And what are you doing here?" He says, "Well, I'm here to get into heaven." She says, "That's not likely." He said, "Well, I'm here anyway, regardless. So what do I have to do?" She says, "You just have to spell a word." And he says, "What word would that be?" And she says, "Czechoslovakia." So there you go now. I love making people laugh.
I hope he can spell.
Well, that shows you where her heart was.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sound it out and spell it. Well, Mr. Fred, thank you so much. It was definitely a pleasure to interview you. You're such a sweet man, and thank you. I hope you all enjoyed this show. I will be back this Saturday with a new guest. And so, as always, keep the faith. We are here just to encourage, to inspire, to uplift with the Light Talk Show. And so, God bless you all. Please keep safe, use wisdom, and you all enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you all. Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it. God bless.